Hi, I'm Jess, and welcome to my channel. Has anyone else noticed a decline in the quality of traditionally published books lately? I recently read Installment Immortality by Seanan McGuire and found 3 mistakes. It's not the first time I find mistakes in some of Seanan McGuire's books. Before I continue, I want to be clear. This is not an attack on Seanan McGuire, but a criticism of traditional publishers and the publishing industry. People make mistakes. That's why books are looked over by a series of editors before being published. If mistakes are being missed, it's probably because the publisher isn't prioritizing editing. I'm using Seanan McGuire as an example because I've read at least 40 of her books. If you read that many books by one author, you're bound to notice some mistakes. Okay, story time. This all started in September of 2023. I decided to reread the October Day series. Fast forward to March 2024. I'm rereading The Unkindest Tide, the 14th book in the series. I find a very jarring mistake. One of the side characters, Cassandra, is referred to using the wrong job title. Cassandra is Arden's chatelaine, but in the book she's referred to as Arden's Senegal. This mistake doesn't affect the plot at all, but it's still a very noticeable error. Next, I read A Killing Frost, book 15 in the series, and there's another mistake also about Cassandra. Cassandra says something about her being 18 and not a child anymore. She's actually at least 22. She was 18 in book 3. By this point in the series, she's studying for her master's degree. Again, it doesn't affect the plot at all, but authors should know their own characters better, because the fans certainly will. Moving on to the Encrypted series. In Aftermarket Afterlife, something is said about how the dragons don't keep track of maternity. They just toss their kids into a pile and raise them collectively. In the novella that's included at the end of the book, it's very clear that dragons do in fact keep track of maternity. I'm pretty sure earlier books in the series also implied that the dragons kept track of which kids were theirs. Moving on to the novella, Dusk or Dark or Dawn or Day. At one point, the main character, Jenna, is traveling to her hometown, and she has to get out of the car and walk across the border of her town because she doesn't know what will happen when she crosses the border, since she hasn't been back home since she died. Jenna is a ghost. But that isn't true, because literally 3 pages earlier, Jenna told about the time she went home years earlier. On that visit, she went up to the edge of her family's property, saw her brother that was born after her death with his new family, then spent the night at the grave she shares with her sister. That recollection and arriving to her hometown happens in the same chapter. How does a copy editor miss something like that? After that, I took a break from reading anything by Seanan McGuire for about a year. A few months ago, I read the latest Wayward Children's book, Adrift in Currents Clean and Clear. Then I reread Tricks for Free, the 7th book in the Encrypted series. And finally, I read Installment Immortality, and found the worst mistakes so far. First, there was a line of dialogue that was complete gibberish. Next, one character who had previously been traveling with a duffel bag now had a suitcase and backpack. Worst of all, one of the characters was referred to by the wrong name. She was called Mary instead of Elsie. What makes that mistake super jarring is that Mary is the POV character. The book is written in first person, so when the text says Mary picked something up, I thought, that's not right. Why is Mary suddenly referring to herself in the third person? Also, Mary is currently trapped inside a spirit jar. She's not picking anything up. So why are these mistakes happening? My theory is because publishers are cheaping out when it comes to editing. Seanan McGuire is a fairly successful author with a decent following. She already has fans that will read whatever she writes, even if there are mistakes. So why put the time and money into multiple rounds of editing when a few mistakes aren't going to cost you too many sales? I also think that part of the problem is the publishing industry as a whole. In order for an author to make a living wage writing, they have to churn out multiple books a year. Sean and McGuire has been consistently releasing about 3 books a year for several years. She is simultaneously writing at least 4 different series, plus some standalone novels, plus some Patreon exclusive stuff. Not to mention that each book in the October Day series and the Encrypted series also include a novella. That's a lot of writing and a lot of characters to keep track of. But it's what she has to do for writing to be her full-time job. It's only natural that she makes mistakes sometimes. That's why editors should be there to catch any mistakes. In an ideal world, authors wouldn't have to write so much. The publishing industry demands an unrealistic output from authors and then doesn't invest the money into making sure the finished book is the best that it can be. As long as publishers value quantity over quality, we, the readers, will suffer. Have you noticed a decline in book quality over the past few years? What do you think the cause is? Leave a comment letting me know. If you like the video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more book talk. Thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.